Right, here it is. This is the Benjamin 397S, and S stands for synthetic. So this is not a wood version of the 397. This is somewhat of a newer version. I've got some videos on my channel just shooting it and talking about it a little bit, and then there's just some dead space. I didn't talk about it for a long time. I didn't show much with it for a long time. I was shooting it during that time. I continue to shoot it and modify it a few different ways. But a lot of people have been asking me, well, what's the deal? What are you finding for, accuracy or precision capability, as well as, is this going to be something that can stretch out a little further than a lot of people have? And I'll say this so far. Now, it took me a really long time to mess around with pellets and finding something that worked with this gun well. The main problem I've had before, and it's still the main problem now, is this atrocious trigger. Absolutely terrible. One of the worst triggers I've ever seen put in a gun, especially a gun that has the capability to be very precise, like this one. This is a single feeder. For some reason, there is not a slot to load multiple pellets through here. You could easily have a magazine that would fit into this and would be very functional. They didn't design it that way, so there's a couple goofy things there. Some people don't like that the iron sights were difficult to use because the stock doesn't usually come with a riser. I have this riser on here, like so. A lot of people didn't like that the comb was so high because it was almost built in a way that was for having an optic on the rifle, but the rifle doesn't come with a scope rail. That's something you have to buy afterwards, and so I did buy this aftermarket scope rail, and it's decent. It's only got 2 Picatinny slots in it. The rest of it is dovetail, which drives me nuts that it only has 2 Picatinny rails. Anyways, I've been finding different optics that can work with it. The pellet selection was really frustrating, so there's been reasons I've been taking time to do what I'm doing. Now, this doesn't come with a bipod on it usually. Definitely doesn't usually come with a LDC on the end like what I have here. That's not normal. It doesn't come with an optic, obviously. It doesn't come with an over travel screw, which I've installed here. That's my addition, as well as this cheek riser. So I've done some stuff to it, and you can see a little bit of that in the previous videos, but the whole attempt is just to make it comfortable to shoot, to overcome that terrible trigger. Everything I do is just to try to make it usable. And I have found, actually, I'll grab these for you. If you're familiar with these are Crosman 10.6 grain pellets. These are like a copper-plated pellet. I've seen nickel-plated versions, copper-plated versions. These 10.6, they're not hollow point. They are a rounded nose pellet. That's the thing I'm going to stick to with this. It shoots them the best, and I'm having pretty consistent results with them. At 50 yards, I'm seeing right around a 1/2-inch group for a 5-shot group. So consistency-wise, those seem to be the best so far. I'm not sure about ballistic coefficients or velocities yet. I do not have something to measure that with, but I will tell you that putting an LDC on the end has made this ridiculously quiet, which is cool. I can shoot it in lots of places I normally wouldn't be able to shoot it, if you understand what I mean. And adding an optic has been worthwhile. It's worthy to have an optic, I do think so. After finding the right pellet, messing with the trigger, getting everything else perfectly comfortable, so far this project rifle has been reasonably accurate. Like I said, 1/2-inch at 50 yards. That's really good. You're not going to find many rifles that do that easily in this price range. Now this one, to be fair, hasn't done it easily either. I've had to modify a lot of things. One of the better things that you could do is putting a worthwhile optic on there. So I have an SWFA, if I can just get that in frame a little there. This is an SWFA 12X. I'm a big fan of SWFA for these types of rifles, especially like 22, rimfire in general, or pellet rifles, because first of all, they're super cheap. These could be had for right around $300 or less if you get them on sale. And then they have 40 mils of internal travel. And so 40 mils of internal travel will get you out really, really, really far. Certainly beyond the point where, basically the pellet has destabilized completely. 40 mils is way out there on something that is this slow. When I'm doing, 10 pumps, if I do a full 10 pumps, I can take it out a little past 100 yards consistently, accurately, if there's no wind at all. If there's any wind, it's just so slow, coming under that 1,000 feet per second marker with even these 10.6 pellets. Any wind at all is going to destroy any capability. I do want to take it to 200 yards. I do have enough elevation for 200 yards right now, just barely. And that's if I pump it 10 pumps, there's no wind, and everything's going my way. And so I'd like to show that, probably just on some steel and then paper, that the rifle is capable of it, but it's extremely finicky. I got to tell you guys, between resting it either on your palm, you know, the artillery hold, or on a rest, like I've got a couple of these tripods type, you know, sandbag rests, sandbags, plain sandbags, or off this bipod, you get dramatic shifts in impact. And a lot of that has to do with the trigger weight and how you're loading into the rifle or maneuvering it around rather. It's really, really tricky. I've just had so much trouble with that. And so I needed to learn a particular way to pull the trigger every single time off of a certain, a certain form of structure, which I've just decided to go with a bipod in the front. This one happens to be a UTG bipod. This is their overbore, but I'm using it underneath. It's kind of a neat bipod. Anyways, I've decided to go with that, and then just a rear bag and really, really light face pressure. Only pressure between my trigger finger and my thumb, not much on the stock. I've just tried to have a consistent trigger pull, and so obviously I'm shooting basically either from the prone or from the bench, and that's it. It's not a lot of shooting around positional shooting anymore. If I'm going to try to shoot for groups, it has to be held the same way every single time. It's just very hold sensitive in that way. It can be shot with the bipod. You just need to be careful about, if you're going to load into it, you have to load it every time. And you have to get the same amount of pressure. Otherwise, that shot release, it changes a lot. It's something to do with the weight of the trigger and the inconsistency of the pull. Man, I can't speak today. So it's a frustrating rifle in a lot of ways. I was hoping that 2022 would bring on some new rifles that would just have a better trigger. I mean, the barrel is great in this. I'm pretty sure the barrel is very good. The capability, at least I found something aftermarket to put an LDC on the end. I'm happy about that. I found a way to mount a scope and get a cheek riser. And so I'm doing what I can here. I didn't see anything in 2022 that really meets these basic, very basic criteria. There's nothing that interesting to me. So I decided I'm just going to keep going at it with this, and I'll go ahead and put the effort in to get some really good groups at 100, 200 yards, somewhere in there. And I'll give an update further, but that's basically what I've got into the rifle so far. If you have any questions about parts or components, what's going into this, I'll try to comment that down below. Maybe I'll put it in the description box. This video will probably be, flagged or demonetized instantly, so I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel and maybe go watch some other videos that haven't been punished yet by YouTube. This video, though, for some reason, air guns, they just consider it all to be unacceptable content for whatever reason. I don't know why that is. These aren't legal firearms, by the way, YouTube. This isn't a legal firearm. It's an air rifle. It doesn't qualify as a firearm. Plus, most of the time when I'm showing you usage, it's in a totally safe environment or at the range. And so I don't know why it keeps getting flagged for this stuff. But aside from that, if you guys have comments or questions, or you want to tell me about your build, or maybe you know some ammo you've had success with, I would love to hear about that. If you know of something coming up for 2022 that is going to displace this in the market, it's going to be a superior product, tell me about it. I would rather spend time on those products rather than trying to make this thing work with that atrocious trigger. But I'm having fun with it, and it's probably saving me money anyways. Thanks, guys.